If you couldn't read, you might look at this E3800 and think, isn't this just the E3600? Aside from the actual name tags on these units, they are virtually identical. So why, after 2 years and 2 pretty successful years of the E3600, did Pecron go ahead and decide to change over to the E3800? And who is this new power station for? So welcome back to the lab where our opinions cannot be bought. Pecron is known on our channel to be a good brand that offers a good quality product for an affordable price. They recently did like the F series redesign, where a lot of their power stations have been looking a little bit more sharp, a little bit more modern. So it is interesting that they released this brand new power station with the old E series design. But if it performs as advertised for the price of this thing, it might just be an awesome purchase. So as always, we will leave links in the description down below, as well as any discount codes we can get from Pecron to save you guys some money. We also have the power station quiz. So if you're not sure exactly what power station you need, it's a 30-second quiz, gives you guys an instant recommendation based on your actual needs. But before we jump into all of our experience with this big new E3800, all the things that we really didn't like about it, and all the stuff that we did, we're gonna hit you with a super quick spec teardown to get you guys up to speed. First up, this thing does pass the tiny baby lift test. It weighs about 87 pounds, but it is heavy though. You're gonna notice when you pick this thing up, there is some weight to it. It's a 3,840 watt hour battery bank inside of here with a 4,200 watt inverter. And you can use Pecron's expansion batteries with this power station to get it up to 26,800 watt hours of capacity, which is honestly a really big system. When it comes to charging this thing up, you can plug it into a regular house outlet in your home and charge it at about 1,800 watts. It also comes with a 30 amp plug, so you can charge it a bit faster at 3,600 watts, basically meaning you can charge this whole thing from 0 to full in just over an hour. You can also charge it with solar. The solar input on this guy is 3,000 watts, so that's actually pretty good. That's like an hour and a half, 2 hours of charging with solar, depending on the sun. And then when it comes to plugs and ports, it is Pecron's E3600. On the side right here, you have 2 expansion battery ports. If you take a look at the front, you still have your 12-volt car socket, which is nice. Pecron actually started taking these away from some of their big units, which is not nice. You have an XT60 out, which is an interesting choice as always, and a barrel connector right here. You have all of your USB-A's and USB-C's underneath the flaps. You have 4 regular 120 volt house plugs across the front, as well as your 30 amp output. And you have your 1 small solar input and then your 2 XT60s that splits that 3,000 watts. So they're 1,500 each. As always with Pecron's old design, there's no power button. You actually have to turn an inverter on to have the unit be on. There is one new setting in this touchscreen that the E3600 did not have, which is automation, which is pretty cool. So you can set up things like peak shaving. Screen's easy to read, it's nice and bright, it's very responsive to touch, which we like. But overall, the build quality and everything feels exactly the same as previous older Pecrons. We do like that this is really easy to stack. It has your little dimples for feet, for expansion batteries to sit on top, or other power stations to sit on top. It's a very good design. The rubber feet are nice. It doesn't slide around. It's a little bit more, I'm not gonna say that a 90-pound power station is drop resistant, but it helps. And of course, it works with Pecron's app. It gives you access to turn the inverters on and off from afar, set up your automations, do all that kind of stuff, which is sweet. And right now, with our discount code, you can pick this thing up for $1,139, which is almost the exact same price as the E3600. And so that $150 difference is the first thing that we really like about the E3800. This has an 800 watt hour bigger battery than the old E3600 and a 600 watt bigger inverter. And it's only $150 more. Like there's no way to argue that as long as this thing performs in our testing, it is a really solid purchase, and it almost makes the E3600 pointless. I don't think anybody's gonna buy one now that this exists. And the second thing that we really like about this is it works with this 30 amp plug right here with a 240 volt combiner box. So just like the Pecron E3600s, you can plug that 240 box into 2 E3800s, and it gives you a way bigger inverter and a way bigger battery than we were getting previously with the E3600. Again, it just plays on that price point. It's a really competitive setup, especially with the 2 and the 240 volt box. It makes it hard to recommend a lot of other power stations when something like this exists. With the 2 units and the box, you get 8,400 watts of inverter and over 7,000 watt hours of battery capacity, which competes with something like the Delta Pro Ultra, and it costs $2,497 for that bundle with the 240 volt box, which is a fraction of what the Delta Pro Ultra costs. And we also just really like how this thing performed in our testing. It was 84% efficient, which is honestly an A, so great job Pecron on that. And in our idle test, it only used 21 watts per hour just sitting there idle. Basically meaning if you had something plugged in here like a sump pump, you just have this thing on so that when the sump pump needs to run, it can run. This thing will only consume 21 watts from the battery every hour just sitting there, which is, I wouldn't say it's a great number, but it's definitely not as terrible as some other power stations we have seen. In our charge test, it charged from a regular house outlet, 15 amps, in 2 hours and 27 minutes from 0 to full, which is actually pretty good. And that 30 amp charger did it in about an hour and a half. And it even surged really well, which is kind of surprising. Not all Pecrons surge really well. It was able to do 5,400 watts of surge just repeated, like we were able to just do that test over and over and over. And it was able to surge up to 7,500 watts just for a quick blip, just to like turn something on, but it was still able to do it, which is pretty impressive. And the UPS mode works. You can't put more out of the plugs than you're putting into the unit at that time, but overall it still works good for a UPS. Otherwise, it's just a good power station. Everything that we like about all previous Pecrons is why we like this thing. It's simple, it's affordable, it does what it needs to do, and it's not trying to be anything fancy or do anything, special or different. The one thing that we really like that they did integrate into this was automations, so you can set this thing up to peak shave. So the E3600 has the same screen and everything, it's literally just missing that setting. Basically meaning you can have this thing plugged into your wall, and you can have some devices plugged into it or plug it into a transfer switch or something. And you can have it set up so that during the night, this will charge with the cheap utility rate overnight. And during the daytime, when the utility rate is really high, it will actually take power from this instead of your grid. So to help you kind of cut down the cost of your electricity bill, it doesn't do anything crazy impressive, but it helps you justify the purchase because you can earn your money back within a year or 2 years, depending on how much you're actually pushing it. And while doing all that, it's a relatively quiet power station. Even when running above what it's rated to do, when we were surging it and doing all that stuff, it isn't crazy loud, which is pretty good because some old Pecrons were insanely loud. Like anything though, this power station was not perfect, and I think the first thing that we don't like about it should come as no surprise to you guys. There's no light on this power station. It weighs 90 pounds. If you have it in your garage or in your basement and the power goes out and you have to carry it anywhere in your house, up a set of stairs or whatever, you can't see where you're going unless you also have a headlamp on because you can't hold a phone or a light. So I would love if Pecron and all power station companies started putting more lights on their power stations. It's extremely handy when you're actually in that situation. Otherwise, it does just seem kind of pointless. We also don't love that they got rid of the wireless charging pads on top. The E3600 had 2. I get that they probably looked at it and thought, hey, most people aren't using those, but as people that have power stations kicking around and we use them to power certain things in our home, it is nice to be able to walk up and put your phone on top and have it just charge. Even if this was like in your garage, set up permanently to a transfer switch, to be able to walk up and just put your phone on it is pretty nice. You need a cord to do it here. You didn't need a cord on the old one. Just a little thing that I wish they kept. As I said before, there's no separate power button on this. It's only a buzzkill because if you have it on and you're trying to change settings or you're trying to do whatever, have it connected to your Wi-Fi so you can turn it on and off, something has to be on for this unit to be on. Like if you go ahead and turn off the DC inverter right now, the whole power station shuts down. It's gone. Other power stations, you can have them on, no inverters are on, you have it connected to your app, whatever, you turn it on, you can do whatever you want. This one, something has to be running, which just means you're gonna burn through your battery pretty quickly because even when you're not using it, an inverter is running. Otherwise, there isn't a ton that we don't like about this power station. So at the end of the day, who is a power station like this for? I think anybody that considers a good deal a win. If you were shopping for a power station in this size range, or you were shopping for a power station at all, if you look at the price and the capacity and the inverter on this, and the fact that our testing was actually really good, I just think this is a power station that, like, no matter what you were looking for, even if this is double the battery capacity that you needed, it might still be the same price or cheaper than the power station you were considering. It's great. It would be great in an RV. It would be great in a garage running home backup. It would be great to just bring into your kitchen and power some essentials when the power goes out. There's no use case that this thing isn't really good for. You could put the 240 volt box on it and run a ton of stuff in your home. It's an awesome power station. It's a really good deal. Honestly, I don't know how Pecron even stays in business, to be honest, offering stuff like this, but it's clearly working for them. If you guys are interested, we have links in the description down below, as well as our discount codes. We also have that power station quiz if you're not entirely sure what unit is best for you. Otherwise, that is all we got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will catch you next time. Peace out and stay charged.